Hello and welcome to episode number 63 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is October 30th, 2017. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both of McFlugel.com. The show notes page for this episode is actually McFlugel.com/63. And remember last week, all through the episode, I was referring to the 63rd episode, but I was wrong, and this one is episode 63. Kind of our Halloween special this week, if you will. So go over to the show notes page for some other ways to follow us and some links and everything for things we're talking about today. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to the spooky Slappy Jones, and he's going to introduce our topic for tonight.
Sup, Rollo? Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I think that's the end of the spookiness, though. I don't know that we have a Halloween-themed episode today.
I don't know. I think this scares a lot of people, what we're about to talk about.
True. All right. So anyway, we get it all the time as libertarians. What about the social safety net? You get it from Republicans and Democrats. Of course, more Democrats, but even Republicans generally, people who call themselves small government, think, we need Social Security, we need disability, we need certain things as a social safety net. How would that be handled in a libertarian world? Usually they say we don't care about people. We only care about ourselves. So, Rollo, is that true? Do we only care about ourselves? And if not, how would we handle it?
Well, I mean, I hate the do you only care about yourself? Because it's kind of a loaded question, because most people really do,
well, certainly care about themselves more than others.
Right, which is normal, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have people just stepping on each other out in the street.
Right, that goes for every person, not just libertarians.
Right, exactly. And so, but that creates this working in your own self-interest. It creates opportunities out there. So I think this is no different than anything else. There's an opportunity for that. So if you don't have the social safety net of the state for something like disabilities, would we just kind of, let me use myself as an example. What would happen if driving to work tomorrow, I got into a car accident and got injured to the point that I couldn't do my job anymore? Well, fortunately for me, I just bought a disability insurance policy, so I would presumably be covered. So I think that's really going to be, insurance would be one of the huge drivers behind just not even needing a state's social safety net, because I don't think it's that good to begin with anyway. But you can even kind of go further out than just like saying, if I get hurt, I have this insurance policy that takes care of me. We look at other things, because people like to bring up things that it's no one's fault really that it happened. So let's say that you get pregnant and you have a child, and the child has some sort of disability, and or something that causes the family some hardship in raising the child, because they need extra care, extra equipment, maybe different kind of education, all sorts of stuff. You can imagine all of the costs that would be incurred, and it's a huge financial strain. So I think that's just like anything else. It's an insurable thing. There's a chance that when you have a kid, there's going to be something, some sort of issue with them. It's obviously not guaranteed. There's most kids are born healthy and fine and no problem. So why wouldn't someone say, hey, I'll take your money and pool it all together, and if someone has a problem, then we give that person their money. I think that's you could say that's selfish or something of the person creating that program, because obviously they're taking some of that money for themselves. But at the same time, it's a very social thing to do.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Go ahead.
And I know you're kind of throwing in what the opposition may say, but how is it I mean, they're providing a service. They're providing that safety net. So how would it be selfish for them to keep some for themselves? They're providing you peace of mind.
Did I say selfish?
I may have just heard that.
Okay, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say I might have said I meant to. I don't know what I said, but I meant to say self-interested. Just by going what we're talking about, getting how people.
Yeah, sure.
Well, people
that makes more sense.
Because they wouldn't do it without some sort of profit for themselves. Yeah.
Sure.
So the people running the business have interest in making money, so they're gonna keep some of that money in the pool, which would all be agreed upon by those putting money in anyway. But it's a very social, if you will, kind of thing that people get together, put their money in a big pile, and say if someone needs it for a good reason, then it's there for you to take. So I know insurance, people like to poo-poo it a lot of times, but I think it's one of the more community-oriented things you can do.
Yeah, I would actually say if community is something you value, you should be an anarchist. Government, with their social safety nets and their air quotes charities to help the poor, crowds out people from helping each other. One, they're taking money out of your pocket so you have less money to spend. And two, it's the government will handle it. I don't have to. I voted for the Democrat, therefore I have a good heart. But what you saw in the early 1900s, before all these rules came in with health insurance, was people, almost everyone joined a fraternal organization. You've heard of them, the what are they called? The Freemasons, AOH, Knights of Columbus. There was a million of them, and almost everyone was a part of it. And you put money together, and you pulled your money together. And when someone had a hardship, they took care of each other. And that all goes away when government gets involved in everything. You don't have to rely on your community anymore because you just push it off onto the government. So, my point there is we would take care of each other in a free society. In fact, we would have to. So you would have to be more involved with your community. You couldn't sit in your house and not interact with anybody. I mean, I guess you could, but then you're bearing all the risk. In a free society, it's much more likely we would all look out for each other instead of just calling the cops or having the cops patrol your neighborhood or whatever the case is, because we all want safety. We all want to be protected. And you would probably see a lot more things like fraternal organizations around because we need that protection. We all want that if we get disabled, and insurance companies would certainly help. There would probably be insurance policies that would be very affordable because you would have a higher deductible or a higher elimination period if it's disability insurance, because most people would be members of some kind of organization, some charitable organization that would help out in a case that something went wrong for you. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and we kind of, because we were talking about before we went on about, all right, let's say someone gets hurt and they can't work anymore and they go on some sort of government program, some sort of government disability program, and they say, well, it's a good thing it's there because, nothing you can do about getting hurt like that. Freak accident or whatever happened, and, just what are you going to do? Well, you could have bought insurance. And I know the problem, that's part of the problem with the state running all of these things, is that they create disincentives for people to buy actual insurance. You look at Social Security, just the Social Security for when you retire. It makes people think that they're going to be taken care of when they're old and retired. And I know I don't even think Social Security is that much right now. You don't get that much of a benefit. You need other things to supplement it. But when I'm that age where I'm legally allowed to collect Social Security or something, it's not going to be there. If it is, it's not going to mean anything. And even now with the standard 401ks and everything, that's probably not going to be enough for most people either. But we have it in our heads that, oh, well, there's stuff's going to be there, and we'll be taken care of one way or the other. But people don't realize that, you know, it takes a little bit more than you might think about. Even with disability, I said I bought a disability thing. When I first talked to the person I bought it from, he asked if I had disability insurance. I said, "Oh yeah, I got it through my company. I'm good." And he said, "Okay, well, send me the information for the policy." And I looked at it, or he looked at it, and he said, "Yeah, this only covers 60% of your salary." I said, "Did you really want to live the rest of your life on 60% of your salary and everything?" And I don't want to get into financial planning necessarily for people, but
yeah. Well, let me jump in real quick because this is my profession. You know, the reason that employers provide insurance in the first place is because of government interference in the market, where they gave tax incentives to employers to, you know, write off that premium. Because it makes no sense why your employer would provide you with insurance to begin with. Why wouldn't you get that on your own, like you do with car insurance?
Right.
But so with that, with those group long-term disability policies that you get from work, they're very good. Well, it's a good start.
Right.
It usually caps at 50 or 60%. Now, your take-home pay, like, so if you're earning $100,000, you're not taking home $100,000. You're taking around, what, 70%. You're taxed, whatever you're taxed, and your benefits come out. So you're not bringing home 100% of your salary either. Right. But with that 60%, when it's paid for by your employer, oftentimes with group policies, it doesn't cover commission and bonus. So most people don't know that. They just say, "Oh, I get 60% from work." They also don't realize that that 60% they're taking home is going to be a taxable benefit, since it's paid with pre-tax dollars. Mm-hmm. Whereas the individual policy, the one that you got, is going to be a tax-free benefit that you can add on top of your group policy. So just throwing that out there. Right.
Plus, it doesn't, for your retirement funds, wherever that is, it's not adding to that. So the disability policy I bought actually adds money to my 401k too.
Yes, when you become disabled, they'll contribute, because when you're disabled, you're not contributing to your retirement fund. Therefore, they can put some into a trust fund, which you can access when you retire.
Right. And then, of course, we have to mention, if we're talking about all this stuff, that the state inflates the money supply and thus devalues the currency. And so we need a lot more money to retire than we otherwise would.
Right. Without the Fed, you could save your money for retirement.
Right.
But
how nice would that be?
I mean, really, you could. You know, you could just put some money away. You could put it in a safe and still retire. Now, if you have if you earned $1 in 1960, it's what's that worth today? I don't know what the calculation is. Maybe a dime. I don't know. So you know, they by inflating the currency, they're incentivizing you to put your money with Wall Street. You know, big Wall Street's always in the back pocket of government, because you have to earn interest on your money. You can't let it sit. You can't save it. Otherwise, it loses value over time.
Right. So here's a question for you with disability insurance. If, let's say, someone gets hurt a little bit, what incentivizes someone to actually get back into work without instead of just milking the insurance?
Well, you got to be careful here, because you might take me on I might give a history lesson in the disability market. But it depends on your contract, because there are contracts, or there used to be, especially in the 80s and 90s, that would pay lifetime benefits as much as you can afford. And so what actually ended up happening was a lot of doctors would get up in age close to retirement and would make a claim because they're stressed that they can't continue working because it's too stressful. Those claims are very hard to prove. And so some doctors would have a $50,000 monthly benefit, and they would go retire to Florida because work is too stressful, and collect $50,000 a month for the rest of their life. That did happen. Of course, what ended up happening by those bad investments by insurance companies, a lot of them went out of business. So they adjusted. They put what they call mental nervous limitations on disability, to where these hard to prove claims, they may limit the benefit to 24 months or 5 years, depending on the contract, but not all of them do. You can also pay a little more and have unlimited mental nervous protection. And they also generally cap benefits paid to age 65 or 67 or 70, whatever you decide to choose. So instead of lifetime benefits, you're getting paid to 70. So that's why that retirement protection policy, which came out of situations like this, are useful and important to have. But what incentivizes you to get back to work? Well, one, they're going to underwrite you financially. So if you're earning, like I said, $100,000, they're not going to give you a monthly, or let's say $120,000 for easy math. They're not going to give you a policy of $10,000 a month, because that would be a disincentive to get back to work. Because if you go on claim, you're actually bringing home more money than you're earning at work. So they underwrite that and they give you a percentage of it. And what a good underwriter tries to do is give you enough to live on and pay your bills and continue your lifestyle. But they put incentives to get back to work, where they can limit the monthly benefit, which you would choose at the time of application, not after claim. And they put rehabilitation clauses where they'll help pay for rehab. They'll even help your employer make adjustments at the office so that you can get back to work, and they'll reimburse you for, on top of the monthly benefit, for your rehabilitation. So there's a lot of ways they try to get you back to work.
I wonder what the catch is, because as we all know, insurance companies are extremely evil. I would never do anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the problem with that is they do, this is all actuarial risk. They don't really, this is exactly what the opponents want to hear, but they don't necessarily care about you. They care about the large numbers. So they don't mind paying claims. That's all factored in. They expect to pay claims. They want to pay claims. They want to have a good reputation, and they want people to continue buying their insurance. So yeah, they do pay claims, and they pay legitimate claims all the time. Happens all I hear. I'm in the business, and I'm a wholesaler. So I work with producers. I work with several producers, insurance agents, financial advisors. And I always ask for stories when their clients go to claim, because that's important for me to know, since I don't handle claims. I'm just a wholesaler. So right. I like to know that, because I don't want to push a product that has bad claims experience.
Well, and it doesn't make sense for the insurance company operating a business to not ever pay claims, because what's going to happen to people, like exactly what you just said, you want to find out how difficult they are with it. And if there's a company that never pays out, then who in the world's going to buy a policy from them?
And here's just another thing, just the market working. This happens often. You have some guys making a ton of money and they need to protect that income. They'll get disability policies from a couple different companies. And there's reasons for that, that we don't have to go into, issue and participation limits. But another reason is, you can submit a claim to 3 companies. And if one of them approves it, then you go to the other ones and say, hey, insurance company X approved this. What's taking so long? Well, they don't want the bad reputation where their competitors are approving claims. And I've heard that has worked very well for some people. So that's just another way, the market keeps the market honest.
Yeah.
And also on claims, just, I know this isn't an insurance episode, or I'm not here to talk all about insurance, but you have to look at the definitions in your contract, because when the insurance company is being a jerk in your mind, you got to read the contract. You got to see what you are covered for. And that's important for you to understand. And if you have a good advisor, he'll explain this to you. And if you call him or her up at any time, they should explain what's in your policy to you, because that's the worst time to find out what is in your policy, is when you're ready to make a claim.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds obvious, but it happens. And so you need to know what you're paying for, especially if, you got married, you were young, you didn't have a lot of money, you bought a policy because it was cheap, and now you have 3 kids, and you got to go look at your homeowner's insurance, make sure you know what's covered, because when something happens, you don't want to find out at the time of claim.
Yeah, that would be pretty
it could be devastating.
Right.
It could be devastating. I mean, it could be worse than frustrating.
Right.
It's very important. It provides a good service, and we would see a lot more of it in a free market. I mean, insurance is heavily regulated. Mm-hmm. The products they're allowed to offer all have to be approved by the state. So if you give a little more freedom for companies to come up with more creative products, we would see all kinds of stuff.
I agree. I don't know. Do you have? I have no idea what time we even started. But
Neither do I.
I don't think
I don't
we've
know
been
how long
going.
we went.
I don't know. I
don't
would
know.
imagine it's been about 15 minutes. Do you
But
have
if any of our listeners, well, before you go on, if any of our listeners are just captivated by insurance talk, you can contact me anytime. We'll talk insurance. We can go all night.
Yeah, so in the show notes page, I have mcflugel.com/63, a couple of links. One is on Slappy Jones and I were on Jeremiah Harding's Moment of Rage podcast, where Slappy talked about the insurance world with the regulations there and everything else, and how the private sector regulates itself. And also an article written by Slappy about, the article's called Insurance Can Regulate Potheads. So both are definitely worth reading and listening to. So
Yeah, check it out.
With that, Slappy, do you have a free market success story?
I don't. At least I didn't think of one. Do you have one?
Yeah, it's a simple
Good.
one. It's something that I think it's probably something we really take for granted, because I think we all use it every day, whether we use it explicitly or not. But going to work this morning, I didn't really have anything for lunch. I don't typically buy lunch at work, but I went downstairs into my basement and pulled a couple of things of soup out of the freezer that I had made and frozen earlier. So the freezer, it allows me to buy in bulk and kind of partition it out to smaller sizes. I can take what I need when I want it. So it saves me a ton of money, a ton of hassle, something that we don't even think about. But it wasn't that long ago that people didn't have freezers and refrigerators, and there were ways around it. I mean, they used to have the Iceman coming around, and that's why they used, if you have grandparents or something, refer to the refrigerator as the ice box. They're not saying that as kind of like a funny slang saying for it. It used to literally be an ice box where they kept food. Before that,
and somehow the market overtook the icebox industrial complex.
Yeah. They used to put dig big holes in the ground and keep, because it was a little cooler down there, and salts and spices were used to save things. I mean, they figured out ways to do it, but I've had things frozen for a while, and couple that with the home vacuum sealing. I got a little vacuum sealer, and I just live by myself. So when I buy some meat, it's normally, I try to do it when it's on sale. There's a buy one, get one free of a couple packages of meat. So I buy that, and I'm not going to eat all that before it's going to go bad. But I get my vacuum sealer out, package them up, throw them in the freezer, and do they last forever? It's great. So just something.
So think about that. Just that. Let me just add something. Because I think that's kind of cool, actually. We're talking about the market here. This is not done by government mandate to have a refrigerator. And what happened? All those icemen, I don't know, is that like a superhero? But those guys who would deliver those blocks of ice lost their jobs, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't see people walking around delivering ice anymore. So I would imagine they.
Yeah, I don't know that. Well, I don't know that they had whatever. I'm assuming they all lost their jobs, and all those companies that delivered ice went out of business. And it was probably really tough for those guys at first, but we are much richer because of that. The other thing, look at how much spoiled meat do you think there was before the freezer? How this saves food and makes you more efficient. And if you think of it from the way some people neigh about the market just being greedy and not caring, wouldn't it on the surface seem better that you didn't have a freezer? That way you had to go to the market every day to buy whatever meat you needed for that day. But this freezer allows you to save meat for, I mean, how long? I don't know. Can you save it for years? I don't know how to, I don't, food doesn't last long in my fridge.
It depends on how you pack it. I mean, I know that vacuum sealing makes things last a whole lot longer than it would otherwise.
Yeah, I know. Like hunters will go out and get a deer and pack their freezer for like the whole winter.
Right. Oh, I've had meat I forgot about in my freezer, and I go and thaw it out and cook it up, and it's fine. And the other thing that not only does it, it saves money from having to throw meat away and stuff, but before they had the refrigeration that they do today, you had higher incidences of people getting sick from eating the bad food. So, those people had to stay home from work or something, or they weren't as efficient. They had to go spend money and time at the doctor's office on medication. And so it prevented people from spending money on the things they wanted to, or spending their time making money. So it's just, you take this one simple thing and you look at what it's done across all sorts of spectrums, and it just shows its benefits everywhere in ways that there's can't even imagine. So
Absolutely.
That said, I mean, I should go on my rant about microwaves, because I do not have a microwave and I don't ever want one. Because I think it makes food bad. I think that was like the
Not all of us are as rich as you. Some of us poor folk need a quick way to heat up food.
I have to use hot water. It's better. I have my hoity-toity Rollo McFlugel has a vegetable sink in his kitchen, so I've got two sinks. I could fill the vegetable sink up with the hot water and defrost things.
All you libertarians are so wealthy and don't care about the poor.
It's true.
2 sinks.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure, almost every house in the United States has 2 sinks at least.
Right. Although I could see not wanting to necessarily thaw meat in the bathroom when you're, sitting on the toilet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But just to talk about how wealthy of a society we are.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, of course, this was all tongue in cheek, my ripping of Rollo.
Yes. Although I take my vegetable sink very seriously. So,
Sure.
To finish off our spooky Halloween episode, are you going to have any costumes for tomorrow? I assume you're going to.
No, I think that ends the show.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
You have to ask me.
My kids will be trick or treating. I stopped dressing up. Yeah, I know. I have my kids will be trick or treating, but I don't do the dress up.
Oh, okay.
So thanks for everyone for listening. Catch us next week. We have a Bitcoin episode.
Yeah, but that stinks. You're not going to dress up, because for Halloween I'm going to be a tractor.
There it is. You got it in. Good job. Were you going to ride it around, or are you actually being a tractor?
I will be a tractor. Well, I completely made that up. I had a Christmas party. We do it early. We do holidays really early. The McFlugel family. No, we had a Halloween party the other day. So I got a brown paper bag and put some tinfoil over it, and called myself a robot.
Very good.
Actually, this should have been the free market success story, but I had my phone and I went on YouTube and got robot noises. So it's for my nephews, so they could, hear I could play that so I sounded like an actual robot. Whereas when I was their age, if you wanted to do that, you would have had to get a tape recorder and all this stuff. Whereas I had, the world of information on the internet of sounds and noises I could pick.
Yeah, in your pocket.
Yep.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah. It is.
So you got it in.
Yeah, I did.
That we'll cut it.
Again, that was my only note for this episode that I wrote down.
Yeah. And sorry, everyone, I tried to stop it.
Oh, I have the power over here. Actually, if I started taking notes other than just how to get the tractor in, episodes might be better. If I actually prepared for what we're talking about instead of always thinking about, because that's what, when you start talking for a while, I'm just sitting there thinking about how to fit the tractor thing in. That's why I hope you don't, if you ever hear the pause Like, so what do you think about that, Rollo? And there's a little bit of pause, and I go, and then I ask a question about it. That's just me getting back in, shifting gears,
trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, shifting gears from tractors back into into the episode. So if you're still actually listening at this point, again, go to mcflugel.com/63. There's links to like our Facebook page, follow each of us on Twitter, as well as some other social media outlets we're on out there. And you can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as subscribe to our email list. So with that, thanks for listening. Tell your friends and spread the word about us. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and just a plug real quick. Next week, we got a good episode talking about Bitcoin.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So
it's our first ever.
Make sure you catch it, because
first ever repeat guest.
Yeah, and Bitcoin's been going through the roof compared to the U.S. dollar, so it's getting more popular. It's getting more talk. You should check it out. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.